We
Oh,
are live.
are we live? Okay. We'll just wait a couple seconds for some people to pop in here.
Calum says technical difficulties in an AVP Galaxy stream. Surely you jest. we,
Yeah,
we
we're
don't jest, and don't call me Shirley.
yeah, that's one of my favorite comedies.
You know what? I don't think I've ever seen it all the way through.
Oh, dude, come on now.
You can talk to me when you go and watch the John Wicks.
That's true. That's fair. Yeah.
Oh, blimey.
Welcome, Headvetter, Sabian, Calum, No Style, Hunter, Xander, Tizzy, Caustic Viper, Casper. Yo, and they hear us all good. Adam, do you
Sweet.
want to flick
Yeah,
over?
yeah, let's do it. So, as you could probably tell by our thumbnail image today, we are playing Predator Concrete Jungle. And we have a special guest with us today, designer Kev Harrison, who you may recall we had on the podcast for a Predator Hunting Grounds retrospective. So, welcome back, Kev. Thank you for joining us.
No worries at all. Glad to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm cautiously optimistic. This is going to be great.
But we'll have to see how Adam's play goes.
Right. Well, I've not played this in a long time, so glad you're doing it because I would be fumbling and not looking like the expert that I really, the professional that I should be. So, thank you.
Okay,
Everybody,
Sorry, go ahead, Aaron.
I was going to say, everybody's saying welcome to Kev now.
Thank you very much. Very wholesome. This is good. Good vibes. Thank you very much. Oof, look at that fun.
So, Kev, I was curious, your official title on this game, I actually went into the credits here, and
Yeah.
you're in a group here with production and design. Was there a more specific title you had on the game, or was it just designer, essentially?
No, everyone at Eurocom it was kind of flat. So there was just design. That was it, and there was no kind of principal design or any kind of specific, like narrative design or system design or anything like that. I think at this point in time, I don't think many people were. I think it's a couple of years later, I started to see people going, principal designer, what does that mean? What does it, and then people started having the kind of, more specific titles. And nowadays, there's all sorts of weird, made-up ones that look like they've been run through AI of all sorts of things, and you're like, I don't know what that means. But no, you were coming a few other places as well that were kind of flat, and you just had like a more like mid-level designer or junior designer, things like that.
Mm.
And you did a bit of everything, basically.
Yes, especially on Predator. Yeah, I think it was. I ended up having, in the end, something like over half the levels to work on, and some of them I was crafting beautifully, or I was trying to, and other ones I was just trying to nail together because we were running out of time and things. So, yeah, it was all sorts. So, I think I did the combat originally. And I moved to narrative, and I kind of went back on combat a bit after everyone else had had a crack at it, and it kind of evolved. And again, as a massive disclaimer, whenever I say if I did something, it was never just me. There was always all of us, and everything that I did had input from everybody else, and it was a big team effort. So if I say something like, hey, I created this or this certain level, I might have been, kind of looking after it, but I got input in other people's work, and they all got input in mine, and it was a very kind of it was a pretty cool work environment. Horrendously late hours and everything, and terrible diets, but yeah, that was kind of cool and supportive. So yeah, it was. I ended up like one of my friends did all the kind of like languages and all the kind of text and bits and bobs and hints for me because they're very fiddly. So I'm kind of whipping out all the creative violence. They were going through and kind of tidying it all up and making it look professional for me. So yeah.
Nice.
you want to make a start, Adam?
Yeah, I was just checking. It seems like the stream is forcing a widescreen when it's not in widescreen on the emulator, so it's a little stretch. But as long as it's not too distracting, I think we're probably okay.
Yeah, still looks fine.
Okay, well I'll have to check on that one later then. But yeah,
Sizzy
so
says-
sorry, go ahead.
well, you just start on the first chapter, and
Okay, so yeah,
I'll just read the bit.
why don't we start at the beginning, which is A Midsummer Night's Massacre. We may jump around a little bit instead of just do a linear playthrough, because I still have everything unlocked from when we played this in prep for the podcast you were on with us, Kev. Was that 2 years ago at this point, Aaron, or was that last year?
It was last year.
That's right.
Last year, yeah.
So Sizzy says that Concrete Jungle podcast is one of her favourites, so this is really cool. Caustic Viper says, "Hey Kev, you did great on the level design and combat. Definitely helped immerse us as Scarface." Xander says, "This game is still the bar for any Predator game. All of you did a wonderful job."
Oh, that's cool. I can't believe we're getting all these positive comments like 2 decades later. Like it's if you went back in time and told me this, they're like, what? I'm not rich and famous by now. But also I'd be like, I'd never believe. You know what I mean? Especially because it didn't get the biggest kind of massive. I think it was meant to be like super AAA or whatever, and because we changed everything in the last minute and all the bits and bobs, you know, everyone was a little bit let down by it. Still very proud of it, kind of thing, but the kind of feedback we initially got, I mean, in a lot of magazines and things, you know, because still have magazines back in those days reviewing things, you got a lot of grief, and it was like, okay, you know, I'm still very proud of it and everything. And then 20 years later, everyone is really positive, and I can't believe it. It's a massive highlight of my career. It's been great. Everyone been so nice and brilliant. Loved
That's
it.
awesome. I mean, I remember first getting this game from just the video rental store, I think, and then I immediately bought it right after. Because I was just on such a high after the first AVP. I was, you know, one of the people who did like it. And I was into some of the earlier games, like the PC AVPs and like Capcom's arcade. So the current gen consoles like PS2, Xbox, I believe AVP Extinction had come out 2 years prior to this.
Yeah, it was before.
So it was cool to get another game in the franchises on that generation of hardware. And I just remember this was very different from anything I had played before. And so I was, I'll try not to embarrass myself here. And so I was very hyped for this when it came out, and I had a lot of fun with it. But yeah, I mean, as far as initial reception goes, you never really can tell when something's going to just become a cult classic, you know, regardless of how it's initially received. I mean, even the first Predator movie did not get the best reviews, I think, when it came out.
Well, Alien had its poor reviews as well. Didn't Ebert and what's his face not like Alien?
It's one game I worked on kind of years after this was a Star Wars Clone Wars lightsaber game for the Wii, and we designed it specifically for kids. And no one had really seen the new Clone Wars TV show, which obviously ran for loads of seasons. It's highly successful and was really good. I remember some reviews were like, "It's crap. It's for kids. Luke Skywalker's not even in it." And I'm like, well, no, because he wasn't born yet. You know what I mean? And we got absolute battering. And I remember, Eurogamer gave us like 2 out of 10 that said it's crap. I hate its face. I hate the show. I hate everything. You know, all right, okay. And that went on to sell so much and multiple times. Huge. Like it sold every time a new season came out. Like it kept selling. And it was like, yes, it's for kids and it's based on the show. We did exactly that, and it worked. So. You know, it's one of the things like reviews that are disheartening, like without a doubt. You know, if you've done late hours, you want to see everything come back in again. It's like, hey, you wasted your time. You haven't seen your family in months, but this game sucks as well. You're like, oh yeah, thanks for that, brilliant, cheers. And then the fans come in and go, yeah, I'm paying good money for this, and that thing you wanted to do, and you did it, and it was really good, and I loved it. I think some of my best reviews that people have got back to me on YouTube and things like that. Yeah, I remember renting this from Blockbuster, and then we were smoking cigarettes underage and doing it, and like, yeah, that was the kind of game, because that's the kind of thing that we were doing. Not that I'm endorsing underage smoking or smoking at all, but just generally being a teenage toe rag and just getting into violence with, cool video games. That's the kind of thing we were going for, and it's like, okay, cool. And someone sent me a message today actually saying they spent a lot of time in hospital in their kind of like teens, and one of the nurses got this for them, and it said some of the nurses were like absolutely horrified, and some were like, yeah, this is badass. So it's really cool that a game is part of someone's kind of like core memories and childhood and things. Even it is slightly corrupting and ultra violent.
It was one of those early
Yeah.
M-rated games I got to play that I quite enjoyed in my edgy teen years. So I can definitely understand that appeal.
It's cool. It's what I mean, as a teenager, and kind of skateboarding badly and getting into all sorts of maybe petty crimes. I don't know. I can't remember that far back. Or I don't want to
Incriminate
too much.
yourself.
But, yeah, just generally being a bit of a toe rag. This is the kind of thing you want to play. And yeah. And one of the things we get the most feedback for is the fact that it is a very Predator game. And that is 100% what we set out to do. Not just a game with a Predator in it. It is that Predator experience. You want to be the Predator kind of, not simulator, but someone once told me not a simulator, but an accumulator. So it's not very super technical, but when I put it on, I just want to run around and start playing as a Predator. I want to feel like a Predator. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to have to like go through major training and things like that. And one of the kind of things is I think like Batman Arkham Asylum came out after Predator Concrete Jungle. Bill worked on that, who was like the kind of head designer on this, and I thought some of their stealth bits were much better than ours. I think the budgets were better. I think it was a really well designed game. After so it was a really really good game. But one of the things that I think Batman kind of suffered, and we do as well on this game, is too many buttons, too many controls and combinations. So I'm trying to kill someone or trying to sneak with Batman, and I put it down for like a week. I come back to it. I'm gonna pull out a scanner or a batarang or something, and I'm pulling out, I don't know, doves and handkerchiefs and all sorts of things out of my pockets because I've got this, and I'm doing the wrong thing. And it's even games like, I think one of the best game in the whole wide world is Red Dead 2, but I get a thing where a nun will pop past me and go, hey, good morning. I'll go, hey, howdy. And as I go to, emote at her, I'll pull up my gun and blow her head off by mistake. It's like, I've done this horribly wrong. So it's one of those things where I don't want to be fighting with the controller, right? And I know we didn't get that completely right with Concrete Jungle. But with the rest, where I don't want to have to work hard as being a Predator, I just want to be the Predator. Everything I do is kind of flawless, and it just feels strong, and I feel heavy, and I feel stronger and more powerful and all this kind of business. And I think we got some of that right, and that's what we get a lot of feedback from. Normally whenever I see anything that people say, it was a very kind of Predator game, which is great, which is really good to do.
Absolutely. Hunter says this game is such a wonderful exploration of the Predator. It was the comic book adaptation I always wanted, and it is aged like fine wine. Still have my original copy to this day. And yeah, the game absolutely does make you feel like a Predator, and it's not just through necessarily the gameplay, but it's like simple things like the Predator is way bigger than the doors. Yes. In the art design. That is such a small, sort of subtle thing, but it makes you feel massive within the world itself. That's always something I'm really impressed by.
But nothing is simply
that's cool. I think when we worked on, the pretty much the core team worked on the last two Bond games at Eurocom. The first two Bond games at Eurocom. And with that, again, we were trying to create not an action first-person shooter with James Bond in it. We're trying to create this James Bond experience. And in that, there's a level of designed where you kind of walked around and didn't do anything, but like the men and the women head tracked you, and the men head tracked you a little bit, but the women head tracked you a lot. And people picked up on that. And it's like, yes, I feel like Bond. I feel like everyone's staring at me. I feel all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And it's like, right, what can we do here to make you feel like that character? You
And
know,
which Bond games were those? Was that Agent Under Fire or?
And take from us
No, that was the first one. Was The World Was Not Enough, and after
Oh,
that
okay.
was Nightfire.
it had left behind.
Oh right,
That's the
yeah.
one we all worked.
Nightfire was great. I remember having that one as a kid and loved that game. One of my favorite Bond games for sure.
I was in my 20s with a mortgage when that came out. So when you say that, I'm like, oh man.
That was like Christmas present in my I think I was probably younger than a teenager or just entering my teen years at that age. Thank you for the super chat, Dirty Nero Main, who has a question for you. Kev asks, was Capcom's AVP in any way an influence on this game? I recall a level with the Xenomorphs. You are correct. There are a couple levels in this game with Xenomorphs, but can you tell us anything about that, Kev? Did AVP by Capcom, the beat 'em up arcade game, influence you guys at all, or any other games inspire you with this one?
Yes, definitely. I think that is one of the greatest beat 'em ups. I love Capcom beat 'em ups. Like Final Fight to me is one of the greatest games of all time from a design point of view. It's just clean and it's great and it's just brilliant. I could go waffling about that for like 20 minutes. But when AVP first came out, I think I saw it in Meadowhall in Sheffield, which had like a big arcade, which you don't normally, you didn't get them as much. I was blown away. It was amazing. So the Predator, when we created the character, now obviously, one of the things we get with games, right? It's hard because you see the whole character. Whereas if you look in a movie, like I think it was like the first Christian Bale Batman movie is a good example, where there's like 3 or 4 different versions of him, of his suit, because he can't move in it. There's a bit for headshots, a bit for, so when you lay it all out there, it's quite awkward. But with really good editing and film direction, you can't tell that, and it's really, really good. But with the game, obviously, you've got the character, and you can move around and view them all in complete detail. So characters normally have odd proportions, and it makes it better. A really good example, and also you've got budgets as well, so you can only have so many kind of skeletons. So you build a character out of a kind of rig, a skeleton, and then you animate that. These days you've got blending and things like that, and things to make it kind of easier. But let's say look at the Predator character in Fortnite. It's still got a giant head because it's got a big head with a giant mask on it, so it still looks really big. Because it is in the film, but they film it in such a way you don't notice it's got this huge melon kind of thing. And now with kind of CG and things like that, it's reduced because it's less like an actor in a suit. So in the AVP game, the head and the mask are kind of like a normal size, or what you would not a normal size, what you think would be more acceptable. So for instance, another good example is Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider should have a really small head because he's got no meat on it, right? So he should have a really tiny head. Whenever you see Ghost Rider, his head's about the same size as a normal human head, which doesn't kind of make sense, but it looks odd if it's not that way. So the Capcom AVP game had the Predator's kind of head and mask at a much kind of more acceptable. This doesn't look like a dude in a suit that we're kind of filming, because they just kind of drew it. And it's awesome, but also his back is really tall, and especially if you look at the cabinet artwork for the arcade, the Predator's back is really long and arched. It's almost if he can bend it a little bit more, which gives him really kind of cool poses, sort of like how Spider-Man is. In the best art, these really cool dynamic poses where his knees are in the air and he's kind of flying through swinging through like New York. So that doesn't really make sense scientifically, but who cares? It looks really cool. You know what I mean? And that's what we're trying to do here. So I thought the Capcom Predator absolutely nailed it, and we kind of pushed for going, right, let's make him leaner and thinner. And we'll give him like hands that are slightly bigger. Now, when you give someone big hands in the game, it's quite common. If you look at Fortnite, they've all got like rather giant hands, but it means you can hold weapons. You can just do a lot more. And most people don't notice these things. So we gave our Predator big giant hands, and his wrists are kind of slightly thinner than they should be in certain parts of his body to give him that overall kind of feel, and it looks right. So You'll see if you ever see like characters in like a T pose in the game, as like a test. They might not look right and the proportions look slightly odd, but when they're animating and they're walking around or they're permanently hunched and things like that, like for instance, our Predator, I think he's like 6.5 foot or something like that. He's bigger than everyone else, but he's never stood up. His knees are always bent, his head's kind of like hunched down slightly, and a couple of times he does stand up, and he's absolutely huge. But it just feels right, I think it's really good, and I think, when that was modelled, everyone like nailed it. So I did really push for that, but obviously I wasn't the guy that modelled it, and I'm not going to take credit for that. But yeah, the AVP on the Capcom game was a really, really good influence. Oh, and the way that the shoulder cannon works. So you can fire a couple of shots slowly, or you can fire 3 in rapid succession, and then you get a cooldown, like a massive cooldown, and you get penalised, but you can fire 3. That's straight from AVP, because I think I've used it before in other games, because I think it's the best system. I think it's just really good, and it's understandable, and people understand it and pick it up and go, yeah, that kind of makes sense. So we used it for this as well. So loads of influences, and I really wanted, and we didn't get time. Oh, what's her name? The character who's not Arnie.
Oh, Anna.
You guys. Sorry.
Anna.
Yeah, the one in the orange camo, which I don't understand what that orange camo is used for. It's like bright. She wears bright neon orange camo, doesn't she? And she's got a sword.
Oh, no,
Oh.
you mean Kurosawa? Oh,
Yeah.
Lynn Kurosawa?
Kurosawa. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. I really wanted her to be in it. I thought she was awesome, but I've always thought she's awesome, and we tried. I don't think she's appeared in any of the games apart from one of the Street Fighter games where she's in the background in a swimming pool or something like that. But I really wanted to put her in, but we didn't get time.
How would you have fit
So, yeah.
her in?
I don't know. We've got 1930s gangsters and all sorts of stuff in here.
I'm sure you could
Where's
have
the
thought of
will, there's a way.
something.
Oh, I forgot she's in the miniatures game.
All right, Aaron, remind me, how do I defeat these things so I don't embarrass myself?
So target lock on them
Okay.
and sort of jump around them until you get the grab icon. So
Yeah.
you're gonna have to physically get up there and
Okay.
into them.
Let me get my combo stick. Okay. Yep.
So Kev, they did a minis game, like Warcraft.
Oh,
Not
yeah, yeah.
Warcraft, Warhammer. They did an
Yeah,
AVP
yeah.
minis game, and they did a Lynn Kurosawa unit miniature
There we go.
Nice.
for that game.
Yeah, she had a sword and the bright orange camo, which I don't understand what you're trying to blend in with that kind of camo, but it looked pretty badass. It was very like 90s rave.
So Caustic Viper asks Kev, whose idea was it to make Scarface so cheeky with his vocal mimicry? Him using it to troll the humans were Caustic Viper's favourite scenes. And I think it really added a great deal to his character. His choice of phrases to throw back at everybody.
I don't know. So again, the team before Predator, before Bond, before a few other things, we all worked on Duke Nukem as well, and Duke had N64 version of Duke Nukem, that is, and Duke had loads of quips, and I don't know. I think it was just trending, like it was the trend at the time. But one of the things that was a big influence was the first AVP game, right? Because this is again, I'm going to sound really old, but this was definitely before broadband, right? So you didn't really play a lot of games online. There's like EverQuest and a few other things like that. And it was mainly, you've got to be full on into PCs. The average household didn't have you couldn't just like log in and start playing with other players in various games. That wasn't until like Dreamcast. I think Dreamcast Phantasy Star Online had that. It's very easy to do.
Yeah. But PS2 did have wasn't PSN, was it? Because I think Xbox Live came first, and then
Yeah.
there was like some unofficial PS2 online thing, and then they did PSN.
Yeah, but none of the games really were leaning into it as much. Like you know, it was still dialogue. You know what I mean? So it wasn't equal, and there was a lot of things you had to like be careful of. And yeah, I think because Battlefront was out by that time. I think I can't remember. Going back,
Battlefront was on the PS2.
yeah. So we were playing. Loads were playing AVP, right? And the bad thing about AVP, like the negative, is you used to be the predator. You just run around and kill everybody. So you're playing the game in the pitch black, and you'd be like, "All right, so what am I doing, Dad? Right, so where are you, Dad?" And it's like, "Oh Jesus," you know what I mean? It was really rough. But if you played it and kind of like role played it a little as the predator, so rather than going and killing someone, you'd shoot next to them, and they'd crap their pants, right? They go like, "Oh," and you'd see them panicking. It's like spraying, machine gun fire, pulse rifle fire, like into the air, and everyone's panicking. You could hear it, like down the office. Cause, sorry, we were all playing on the LAN because we had the power to do this. You know, we were in a big office full of video game nerds, and it was awesome at lunchtimes. So lunchtimes at night times we'd do that. Then we would basically get like loads of playing with different games, and then we would like roll. Whoever got the predator just wouldn't run in and kill you. They would do the mimicry thing, and they'd shoot next to you, and they'd turn invisible and walk past you, and you'd be bricking it. And I was like, this is really good because this is like the horror element of Predator, because it is, people say it's like sci-fi, but like I think Terminator, Predator, original Westworld, there's an element of horror in there. And with the later films, they're more action based, and it's like, no, there's still something, in there about the thing you're up against is like Jaws. You're out your element. That's this thing that's trying to kill you is in its element, and you're outclassed. You know what I mean? Completely, which is pretty much the Predator movies. So it was really cool that we were playing that, and we would use all the sounds and things, and it was like, right, we want the player to do that. We want the player to literally role play this, but we're going to make it easy for them. You know what I mean? We're going to do all this mimicry stuff and all these extra bits. And a game the game should have been a lot more sandbox than it is. When we had it originally, and it was the GTA game, so you could do loads of this stuff and go around. And I think we had like collecting audio with bits and bobs and things like that. And it was pretty cool. It was So yeah, it was always something that was going to be part of it, because it's a really Predator thing. Do you know what I mean? I think it's one of the kind of trademark moves of the Predator. And I think Predator 2 does even more stuff with it, and I think it's really, really cool. So yeah, it was something we constantly did as part of that Predator experience. And but maybe the more quippy stuff, I don't know if that came from just working on Duke Nukem and James Bond with one-liners for so many years. I don't know. But yeah, if it went down all right, I'm glad everyone liked it. That one.
I think it's a very universally loved aspect of the character, because it gave him literal character, even though it wasn't necessarily him saying those words. Where Costy Viper also says him using Bruno's voice lines to clown on his family in the final scenes gets him time.
Yeah, that's cool. He's like an intergalactic heckler. He's just being a douche, really, and saying things back to you.
It is. I think it is a bit of an underused angle of the franchise, though.
Yeah, and it's a shame, because if you said, who is this character, you're like, bam, Predator, straight away. Do you know what I mean? It's very unique to the character, and it's something that's recognisable, and it could be, I think it's good. Maybe like underused in like the later films as well. I think because it was a really cool element. And one of the big influences, because I read the crap out of this when I was much younger, was Batman vs Predator, and I think that's one of the first Batman versus this and that and whatever. And a lot of those kind of things, kind of Elseworlds, like comic things, were it felt like Batman or whoever character it was was just shoehorned in. You know what I mean? But if you read Batman vs Predator, it's pretty much like Predator 2. It's almost like it was like the first draft of Predator 2, almost. I think he cuts hands off as well as heads, or is it just hands as trophies? But he does all that there. You know, there's kind of symbolism with the bat signal, but he also does the the mimicry and everything, and it was very very cool and yeah, just great. So I mean, oh, you've not read it?
No, I haven't read for a while, but I remember
okay.
that. I remember that one being
Yeah.
an absolute cracker. You know, like
Yeah, it did Batman justice, it did Predator justice, and like the Predator, mild spoilers. I mean, it is like 30 years old now, so but the Predator beats the crap out of Batman because he is the ultimate Predator. And it's really good, and it's one of the few times where Batman gets like a fruity suit to defeat something, but it actually kind of makes sense.
yeah, because it doesn't he have a very armored one in that one as well, if I remember rightly.
He gets something that can stop lasers. He gets like this kind of weird like silvery suit to kind of deflect lasers. But the Batman animated series had all those kind of toys, didn't they? Where you had like a bright orange Batman who could then parachute.
Yeah,
Like, why
yeah.
would Batman want to be wearing bright orange as he slowly descends through the air like a massive target? Surely this is but that is one of the cool Batman suits that did make sense, and just the whole graphic novel is just a really tight story, and I think it's very much like Predator 2, which has all the mimicry and all the kind of cool gadgets and the scanning as well as ultraviolence and the kind of creed and hunting and things like that.
I think Batman versus Predator 3 was always my personal favorite. I know like the first.
That the one with all the hybrids.
I don't.
Or was that two?
I think that might have been 2. The third one had 2 Predators in it. Yeah, I know 1 and 2 kind of get more recognition, but I personally really like 3. I think I took too long defeating those mechs, and now the riot police have arrived, so I think I have to
You have to
kill all the
riot
riot
cops.
police. Yeah. So I am trying to track them down.
Caustic Viper says, Kev, if you and some of the other former devs could return for a new Predator game, would you? And if so, what ideas would you bring to it this time?
Well, it'd definitely be GTA-ish, right? It'd definitely go back to the roots of how it was meant to be. I mean, if you look at the characters you're seeing right now, and in the buildings, they're very low detail, even for the time. Because the idea is we were just going to stream so much in, so I would go back to that. Would I work on it again? Yeah. And if you asked me like, I don't know, a couple of years ago, I'd go, yeah, maybe. Is there a call for this? Like I say, everyone's been so positive in the last 2 years. It's been really, really, really nice. I'm like, yeah, I'd definitely do it. And I think there's a whole new audience now. You know what I mean? With Badlands and Prey, which I think are really, really, really good. So it's. I think there's I'd definitely do it. I would. I don't know. I would love to do the thing with the city that was originally meant to be done, which was, the idea was it'd be one big city, and as you were progressing through it, you would unlock more and more bits of city, and then that's it. The city then becomes like it's like a good gameplay mechanic. Wait, the player gets kind of ownership because they know where everything is. As a good example to kind of explain what I mean was, you're playing it like, let's pick a GTA game. Let's pick San Andreas. It's really good, and you keep finding more and more shortcuts and things between, shops and spots that are really cool, and whether you're just messing around doing stunts or whatever, or you know the way of shortcuts to try and get out of things, and when getting chased by the law, you go, right, I'm gonna whip through here. So you basically get to know the city, the layout of the level, right, which is the city, and it becomes familiar to you, and you get a sense of ownership, and then that evolves. So a really good example I can think of, one of the best ones I thought was City of Heroes. I don't know if you remember that. That was a long. It was a good MMO, City of Heroes, and you went around the city and defended and everything. And then they had this level was like an alternate timeline, and the statue had changed from the good guy to the bad guy and things like that, and certain things have been lost. It was a bit like X-Men all their crossovers they have. You take something that's familiar and you change it, and you're like, oh wow, this is really cool, alternate versions. So that's why the city was meant to evolve, and get more and more colds with really bad weather. So the Predator is a complete badass, but if it's constantly raining all the time, things get hard. The city evolves. There's certain bits where you kind of leave like scars on the city where there's been an explosion. That thing that's there is now gone. It was there, now it's gone, and that was you that's done that. So having the city evolve, and then you keep, basically evolving it, and not going through all the multiple things. That's the way it was meant to be, especially for this game, because there was parts of like the 1930s version of the city were meant to be, in the future. So certain landmarks would be kept and things like that. So I thought that was great. I think it's a great idea anyway for any kind of gameplay. But for this game, we kind of based it around that. Went kind of hand in hand with the the two different time settings and things like that. So I would definitely do that. I would love to work with the team just because we've not seen each other in ages. I don't know if I mentioned before, but about a couple of years ago, one of the dudes who lives in Germany now, he came over, and I don't know how he did it. I don't know if he just kind of played the flute in the wind or something like that, but all these people came out of the woodwork. One guy hasn't got a phone. He's a great guy, right? Big Al, and he hasn't got a phone. I'm like, how did you get hold of him? And he turned up, and we all met each other, and we're all chatting about Predator and and the old times and things like that. It was really cool. It was really good. And then when I caught up with John and Tim, with you guys, that was great. And one of the things about the game industry, like, it's not as bad as much anymore, but crunch was really hard, and when you do crunch, it's not just late hours, it means you're ratty. Everything is artistic, you know what I mean? Like, all the artists have to be technical, but all the programmers are basically creating this kind of art, like an art form. They're doing things very cleverly, so everyone's heavily invested, right? And when you're working late hours and you're doing really bad diets and things like that, because that's what you do, you're going to fall out with each other, and people do, but you come through it and you become better friends. So it's really good to see these people, because there's like a bond there, and and a lot of these people I used to work with, I knew them longer than a lot of my school friends. You know what I mean? It was one of those things. So absolutely to work with all these guys again. You know what I mean? It'd be great. But if you asked 5 years ago, is there a room in the world? Is there a demand for a Predator Concrete Jungle sequel or a reboot? I go, I don't know. I doubt it. But now I'm like, yeah, and it'd be cool, and I'd love to work on it. I don't know. Maybe I can have a crack at it in some kind of Fortnite editor or something like that. We'll see one day. But,
I mean, we'd certainly love a continuation of the world set up here, but I mean, not only that, but there hasn't been as many Predator games as there have been Alien games and AVP games as well. Predator's kind of had the least amount
neglected
compared to all of those, and we're starting to see more talk about. Of course, we've had Predator Hunting Grounds from 2020, and that's still an active multiplayer game, and we've had a lot of fun with that one. But I definitely think there's an appetite for another single player Predator game. I'd love to see a remaster of this by either Night Dive or Aspyr, because they've done such a great job with like the Tomb Raider remasters and the Soul Reaver remasters as well, to give, because this game already has a loyal cult following. But I think if you were to remaster it and make it widely accessible, so you didn't have to rely on emulation to play it, that you would get people checking it out and really appreciating it. I think there's definitely a desire for, especially among the younger crowds, to dive into older games like this that they weren't around for.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
and I think there's a huge appetite now, as there was back then, for that original intent, like you said, Kev. If you were to come back and get to do the game you'd originally wanted to do, it's the thing that people, when you ask for a dream game from fans, they describe, yes, GTA meets Predator, and that was the elevator pitch that we all heard back in 2003, Jesus Christ. For for Concrete Jungle, and we were excited for that concept back then, and we would be excited for it now. You know, that is the perfect type of Predator game to make.
Yeah, yeah. It's so one of the things that I really liked about Badlands, I thought it was a great film. Right, I liked it as a great film. I liked it because it was a good Predator film, and it seemed to be everything predatory, you know, and didn't deviate. In my mind, again, this is just me, my thoughts. But I really liked the way it kind of felt it was aimed at a younger audience, but still felt true to everything. And I really like things like, let's say, Batman, right, or Judge Dredd or something like that. You could have something that is almost funny. You could have something that's very political. You could have something that's quite dark and futuristic. You could have something that's very superhero-like. And Judge Dredd fits in all these things, right? You can have a very serious noir story with political satire in it. You can have like a very superhero fighting the baddies kind of thing, and you can have that with, you know, exactly with Batman as well. You know, he's always Batman, but depending on what story, you can appeal to a completely different audience, and it still works. Whereas something like Spider-Man or Superman, they are just those characters. If he's edgy, it doesn't work as well. You know what I mean? It's more fun when you, and so I think it really opened the Predator up. You know, and I'd like to do something that's a bit more. I say family friendly. It's still really violent, right? But I'm thinking by Predator standards, it was pretty family friendly. Yeah, you know what I mean, on the scale of things, but also like a real horror. You know, with the Predator, real horror, where, you know, you're the bad guy, or well, no, you're not the bad guy, but you're, you know, killing things that deserve to be killed or whatever, but you're this scary thing where you're toying with the, you know, and you feel superior. I think there's loads you could do with it, and I really like that. So I think you could do loads with the Predator. I think you could do tons, and I think that the later movies, the newest movies, have proved that. You know, it's great. They are true to the kind of franchise, and I think that's, is it franchise? IP? Yeah. IP. Yeah. I once got the guy who owns Tintin. I think I called it a license or a franchise, and he gave me a right telling off. So I've got to be real careful. Yeah, I got an absolute kicking off him for like 8 minutes, an 8-minute bollocking off this guy. But he was cool. He's very, very cool. Anyway, side note. I think you could do loads with Predator. I would like to do something real scary, you know. And I think you could do it as the Predator, or you're running from the Predator. You know what I mean? I think you could do loads of stuff. But thinking about Predator Concrete Jungle, let's create all these mad characters. You know what I mean? Like all these bosses. They're all great. At the time of my life, you know, designing it, like, well, we need these kind of goth, scissory, super tall, thin dudes. Why are they super tall and thin? I don't know. It's the future and drugs. Okay, cool. It's like, and I like things like that. It's very kind of pulp. So, you know, there's kind of two sorts of, you know, kind of fantasy, and you've got your high fantasy where it works, but if you understand Elfish or how dilithium crystals work, there's an extra level on there. Or, you know, the more Star Wars Flash Gordon, which I'm a fan of, where the fish-headed dude looks and sounds and talks and behaves like a fish-headed dude. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, this doesn't make sense. It's like, yeah, but it looks cool, doesn't it? And the payoff's awesome. So
The
we're having
rule
it,
of
you know?
cool.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? And Doctor Who does a very similar thing, which I think is a really good example of it, where they kind of go, we'll explain this thing, and the more they explain it, you go, hang on, this doesn't make any sense. And then the payoff is some kind of cool monster. You're like, oh yeah, whatever. Like, just, you're giving me enough to justify this. And there's a lot of, like, you know, fantastical characters in Concrete Jungle, and the fact that we're allowed to create them and get away with it, and we could create more, it's great. You know, I love it. It's. If we remade it, would we remake it completely, or would we update it? Would that risk everything? I don't know. These are all heavy thoughts. But like the design process now, I think we've got a lot more design tools, a lot more things where, you know, things to help regulate and keep you in check and things like that. I think you can make a really, really good game. You know what I mean? A really, really good game. But whether we'd remake it or do a sequel, would it Would it be in the same vein, the same universe? I think absolutely that'd be really cool. Would it have Scarface in it or someone else? I don't know. I really like Scarface, and I'd like to see more of him. But also, if we do something else,
I was wondering about that. You know, would you want to revisit Scarface, or would you want to do a brand new Predator character?
yeah, I think Scarface works on multiple levels just because I mean he was never meant to be called Scarface. He never really got a name. We kind of went to name him, and then it was Scarface, and then just kind of stuck. We're like, all right, okay, no worries. But we've got this whole gangster thing going on, right? You know, like the kind of original black and white movie, Scarface. It kind of fits all that genre. So, would you do something else? Have another kind of like nod to whatever genre it's looking at? I don't know. I don't know. It could be. I don't know. I could. That's probably going to keep me awake tonight. Actually, thinking about it. What would we do? Would I do a new one with it? I don't know. We'd probably ask the fans and go, "What do you think?" You know. I think you could do both. It'd be great, but it'd probably be financially viable just to focus on one thing and not like 50 ideas at once.
So I was just showing off some of the different Predator skins you guys included in this game, which was definitely appreciated. I mean, again, right after the first AVP came out, this is the first time we could play as Scar-looking Predator here, and you had the City Hunter as well, and some of the others from the game, like the Dark Blade one and the cybernetically altered one. So that was definitely it added some replay value, I think. I never really I don't think I got through all of these ritual challenges. It seemed like you guys were going for this is like how you practice your parkour as the Predator, right?
Yeah, definitely. And the thing with all these is I didn't design this one. I think I designed a couple. But let's say I did design it. The QA team are always going to do something that's like unbelievably beyond human reflexes and precision. So what you normally do is go, hey, I've done this thing, QA, give me a rough time. And I can't remember in this game whether we went, sound QA can do it in X amount of seconds, or what you do in most games is going, halve it for the average human, because the QA team will be, godlike. They will be awesome at doing this, and you'll never get even close. It's a bit like the last Starfighter. If you do complete all these, you
become a Predator.
So yeah, we're signing you up for our special elite, what do you call it, parkour team. So yeah, they were a really cool thing to kind of just show off and go, right, okay, we're just going to teach you this thing here. I think these days they should be, I mean, the challenges, so they're okay. If you want to play the challenges, they do the challenges. I don't like it when things block you like that, because again, I should feel effortless. A great example of that, which is again is something that had an effect on this and many other games, was Rogue Leader. So Rogue Leader, you got like a bronze, silver, gold medal, and what they did was in bronze you get to be okay. Silver is like the racing curve, and then gold is like no, you've used special skills, and yes, you are qualifying for the Last Starfighter, and you're going to be signed up. I don't know how many people remember the Last Starfighter, but you basically you clock a game, and it turns out the whole thing, the trading simulator. And people from space come down and go, right, you're now in the rebellion or whatever it is, and it's pretty cool. So it's having those kind of things, so you don't feel like you're missing out if you can't do them because they're a bit fiddly, because I want to feel like the Predator at all times and not like, a bumbling fool, But if I want the gold medal and extra things, yes, you can make it absolutely brutal for those that love that kind of thing. I think when we did them in Bond, and I was like, these are a silly idea, no one's going to play these. And I never liked them, but everyone else did, and they did really well. And not only that, they created quite a lot of buzz on message boards and things like that. So it was very, very cool. So yeah, all those kind of challenges. Just got to keep making sure they're all Predator based. How many heads can you crush and all that kind of business, which I think we've got somewhere, haven't we? But yeah, slamming people on railings, I think is the best one.
I still just like when somebody gets folded over the railing.
Yes, it's pretty grim. You know what I mean? It's pretty grim, and it works. It's good. Do you feel slightly sorry for them as the Predator? I mean, it's like,
No.
enjoy my handiwork. That's a rough way to go.
I'm enjoying the power fantasy that is being the Predator at that point.
Did you have a favorite level out of all of them? I think, were you saying on our podcast it was the last one just because how rushed you guys were and you ended up with a really cool climax for the game?
Yeah, I think I really like that one. And
That was one you made, wasn't it? The last level.
Yes, yeah, that was me and one programmer with the help from a couple of artists in their spare time who kind of throw us a bone and go, can you export this character, but make him grey? And they're like, what the hell for? I'm like, I'm going to ready, steady, cook this level. It's not going to use Scream. And it worked. It was cool. It was already like an idea we had on paper anyway. So it wasn't, a fever dream and was going, right, we'll just try something. But yeah, that worked. And I really liked... So the third level where you kind of stealthing, I hate... At the time, like, you had loads of, like, I think Siphon Filter was really good, and in that you played stealthily, but you couldn't help but be stealthy. And I think someone did try and Predator goes, all right, we'll put wall hooking in. I'm like, you're a 7, 8, 9 foot huge creature that's literally invisible. Why am I hugging a wall? You know what I mean? It's like, I know that Metal Gear does it, but it's a completely different game. It's just because they're doing it, but what's our version of that? And is it the third level where you go to the docks? Is it the third level? I think it is.
It might be the
I think
fourth.
it's a little later.
Yeah, because I'm on the third level now.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, it's after this
You're
one.
on
isn't it? Yeah.
2.1, aren't you? The boss
Yeah, okay,
mission.
yeah. So it's the one with the working girls and yeah. So
Yeah.
when I did that one, I tried to make it stealthy without being too fiddly. Now I think a couple of years later, Arkham Asylum came along and went, no, that's how you do it. I'm like, oh man, that was a much better version of doing it. But that was having a go. And
To be fair, there was probably brought like 10 years between the two, though.
no, I think it's less. A lot
Yeah,
less. I
Arkham
think.
Asylum was like 2010, wasn't it? So maybe 5.
Yeah.
2009. Okay, I shut my mouth. I thought it was a lot
Yeah.
old, a lot newer
No,
than
see,
that.
like, I remember Assassin's Creed came out not long after this, and again they were graphically a little better because they weren't doing, this sprawling, living, breathing city, or they do bits of that, but in a very different way to GTA and the tech and everything. But anyway, sorry, what was I saying now? I've gone off train of thought. Who was? What was it all about?
Stealth. You said Arkham.
Oh,
did it
sorry. Yes,
better.
that was it. Yeah, sorry, my bad. Yeah. When we got these really bad reviews, like people said, that third chapter, that level, you feel like a predator. And I was like, yeah, that's what I went for. You're trying to be stealthy, but you are a giant, hulking thing. But also it's really agile. It's kind of you've got awesome muscles and you can leap and swing and do all these kind of cool things. And so I went, yeah, I feel like the Predator. I'm like, yeah. So I was very proud of that level for doing that. And I think I liked the boss fight in the kind of Destruction Derby kind of boss fight. The boss fight that was cool.
The not luchadors, the Mexican wrestler people. Weren't
That's
they?
one of
Yeah,
my
yeah,
favorite levels, yeah.
Yeah, just because it was just weird. It's like a big boss fight, and I think it really works in third person. I really like. There's nothing in there that I don't like. I like them all, which is bizarre. Because there's some games I don't want to look at that again. You know what I mean? That was hell. We'll part ways now. It's out there in the public, and we'll agree to disagree. But no, I like everything. It's weird. Predator. It was so many hours, and it was a lot of crunch. And everyone. It was. I still have very, very fond memories of it. But yeah, I think that third level. Third. The third chapter, or whatever. That I really liked, and it was hard work. And at any point, you could just give it in and made it like just super violent. It made it easy, and we didn't. It was hard work, and I think it paid off, and that's why I'm very fond of that one. But of course, the last level as well is one of my favourites. And when I saw that artwork, I was absolutely blown away. I cannot believe that that's still insane to me. And again, you went back and asked 20-year-old, no, sorry, 20 years ago, and said to me then, this is going to happen in the future. I'm like, nah, that can't be a thing. And it
Oh,
was.
are
It was
you
brilliant.
are you talking about the artist we commissioned
Yes.
for that one?
Yes.
Yeah, that piece turned out great, I thought. And Azolgart said, I'm not sure if it was you or one of the others on our podcast messaged her, and she really appreciated that.
It was me. I said, can I stick? Yeah, can I? I think she sent me a. I said, can I stick it on my website? Kind of thing. She said, yeah, that's totally cool, and I'd link it to it and everything. And I loved it. Amazing. That is a career highlight. Just because it's difficult for me to understand that other people see that and go, oh, that's that thing that I recognise. I'm like, what? I always thought this game was more obscure. Do you know what I mean? But then it turns out, everyone talks about it and everyone's really positive, and it's brilliant.
I think she's done other Concrete Jungle stuff without our involvement as well, hasn't she? And she's done some pieces of.
I'm not sure if she has. I have to look. She's done a lot of great Predator pieces, and we did the Badlands piece. We commissioned her for that as well, so that ended up being really awesome, I thought, and I'm sure we'll end up using her again.
Awesome. Love it.
Was this? I don't think this was the level you were talking about, Kev. The stealth one, was it? When you talked about the ship.
No, sorry, it's the one in the docks. I thought it was three.
No,
for some
I
reason,
feel
but
like that's halfway through the game.
I think this one is a stealth level through the... Oh, maybe? Are you thinking of the docks with the huge crates and everything?
Yes, I think the docks is the one, but someone's in the reviews that we got a kicking for. They said, right, you start to feel like a predator. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Well, thanks for that.
It's
So,
the one with the prostitutes, isn't it?
yes, do you know what it might be? That this would have been a level that's like an intermediate level, and that was the proper. I'm probably going by an old script in my head that doesn't exist anymore.
that's
So,
fair.
yeah, so that it was like the third big thing, but yeah. But either way, it's any level where you feel like the predator. And another one I really like is the one we kind of mentioned before as well, where you fight the giant robot going up the driveway to that thing.
Yeah, that was what El Familia or one of those.
Yeah,
ones?
that's familiar. Yeah, it was, and that was because he's not here to defend himself, but we did talk about it before. But yeah, Tim did that one, and the whole level fell over on its arse because it was too wide open and big. And then I had to come along and fix it. So he kind of moved on to like helping like sort the city stuff out when we changed everything. And I was like, what can you do with this? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. So I was like, right, I'm not going to make it super difficult. I'm going to make it fun. So the idea is you have to protect this giant robot. So there's everything in. There's a couple of bits of stealth, and you kill a few dudes, and you kind of run across, and you see all this giant map that has to be empty because we can't fill it because it was too big. But I get it. But I think it was quite early on in Tim's career, or I think it was him at the time. But anyway, and then I went through and went, right, I'm going to put a giant, dirty, big robot in it and give it some cool graffiti. And I think on that level, I am one of the hidden characters who's a gang member that you have to kind of behead. You know, one of the collectibles. That's me, and I did look very young. I didn't hit puberty until I was about 18, right, which sucked. Between the ages of like 15 to 18. But I've been reaping the benefits ever since, so I do look younger than I actually am. Well, not as much anymore, but I did for a bit during those salad years, you know what I mean? So I look really young on this. I look you're killing a child, but it's me, and I was probably about 26, 27, so it was okay. You can kill me in that game, it's totally fine. Don't feel guilty.
It was Mission 11. Adam, sink the shipment. Go and play that.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, but am I imagining it through rose tinted?
No, I remember that one being like you said, a good stealth predator mission. Less, and I say this still having enjoyed the entire game, but less hacky slashy and more role play.
You said La Familia?
That's cool.
No, Sink the Shipment. That was the one he was talking about in terms
there
of
we go.
the stealthy predator one.
There we go. Yeah, this one was tricky. I remember this
Yeah, I remember this one giving me some difficulty. in the fun way, not in the 1,000 Ways to Die difficulty way.
Oh, and I love this
That's the
intro.
one. That's the one with the rocket. That's the one with the rocket
Yeah,
that
Rocky
spawns out
from
the air.
Snow. Yeah,
Yeah.
damn it,
I was
Tim.
like, that is. Yeah, that was filth. That was absolute. That was horrendous. And not only do you die, you fall off, and it's like, man, like I'm gonna. That was me. I would launch my controller through someone's TV. Absolutely.
Caustic Viper says, wait, so some of our bonus trophies with the devs. Kev, I'm sorry I did the rail execution on one of them when I was 10.
It's all right. I was a gang leader back then, and I totally deserved it. I was out there pushing whatever futuristic drugs were, so I probably deserved it. Got a berry on.
The game does feel kind of cyberpunk in its, kind of grisly near
the whole-
future kind of setting.
The whole Neonopolis of it is, you
Yeah.
know, cyberpunk at its core.
We had a bit of that originally, and then Grant Morrison was like, more. Give it more. We're like, none of this makes sense. It's like, it doesn't have to. It's cool. We're like, yes.
What was it like working with Grant?
It was amazing. I was a massive fan beforehand, and I was an even bigger fan after. As a grown adult who's been, with a full-time job as a grown-up, paying tax and everything for the past, it'll be like 30 years, I think, in June. Yes, 30 years in, working in the game industry and things related to. I have never learnt as much so quickly as I did off Grant Morrison in like a, short stint. He was brilliant. He was really good. Sorry, it's day now, isn't he? He goes by there. I was getting that wrong.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, apologies. But I've always been like a 2000 AD fan, which is a lot of this for those people who haven't seen, who only know kind of Dread. Like 2000 AD has always been this kind of political satire, weird and whack. They predicted loads of things that are now, what was it, 80s weird futuristic insanity is now reality, like reality TV, and things like an animal becoming mayor of a town and things like that, and all sorts of weird stuff. And Grant Morrison took over 2000 AD for a bit, and their stuff is amazing. They wrote the original Arkham Asylum, which is really trippy, with like the Dave McKean artwork, which is mad. But also did like the best Justice League stuff, which is very kind of superhero-y with all the kind of, it's got Batman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Green Lantern, and it's like it couldn't be done, because they're too powerful characters. And they wrote them and did these amazing run of stories. I used to read all these comics, right? And I was big on everything and read as much stuff as possible and European stuff. And Bill, who was one of the designers, lead designer, he was more like super goth and into the Vertigo stuff, and we would swap comics and we just read comics and we get all ideas and mainly for things like visual language to go, right, this explains this really well in a short amount of time. I think that's why comics are really good, because the art and the story have to go hand in hand completely, whereas in movies they don't as much, and it's short and it's brief and you've got to get there, and you can't kind of waste like lots of art trying to, or story. It's got to all pair up basically. When said that Grant Morrison on board was amazing, and the fact that we're allowed to keep loads of wacky ideas, the fact that Mama is in a wedding dress but it's never explained, but it's just cool. I'm like, yeah, okay, no worries. Really supportive, and they wrote, Grant Morrison did this thing where he got took all of our levels and wrote stories for all of them, and he went, these aren't the stories for your levels. You keep your stories in, or you do what you need to do, because you're in the trenches. You're in, you know what you're doing, and I don't as much. But follow the pacing of these. So he almost wrote like a blueprint for every single thing, And it was like, well, we're not going to do that. And it's like, no, you don't have to. But the beats, the highs and lows, the kind of pacing, everything, stick to that. So we warped everything that we had around the kind of blueprint, and it absolutely worked. So it's great, because some people say like, oh no, you can't do that, you can't do this. and they would say, you can't do that for this reason, so instead we'll do this, or how do you feel about it? And it's like, brilliant. So back and forth, got loads of content, added loads of content, and we're better because of it. And they explain everything. You know what I mean? It was such a great learning process. Super humble, super nice. And I'd love to, meet them in person one day and go, thanks very much, because I took all that information with me and I've used it multiple times, for other games and storytelling, and like narrative design is like my favourite thing, and it's really important. And some games that are amazing that don't have really good narrative design or kind of cut corners, it really puts me off. Whereas, if you speak to artists, they'll go, oh, these shaders on, that's good, I can't play the game because it's really ugly. I'm like, nah, it's fine to me. But like storytelling, that's my kind of, jam, and if it's wrong or it's done badly, I can't get into it, kind of thing. And again, that could be really petty. That's a me problem, not not a them problem, kind of thing. So, Grant Morrison was amazing, and the fact that they let me keep Mama in, who's based off Mrs. Havisham, again, crowning achievement. I think makes no sense whatsoever, and I'm not sure if that's actually AVP canon or not. I'm not sure if I think I've read somewhere that it is and somewhere that it's not. So I don't know. I don't know if this game is part of the overarching canon.
That's a whole. That's a whole.
Yeah, we don't do canon discussions, Kev. They're
okay, yeah, no worries.
They are not worth the.
Yeah, but I don't mind that either. If it was like, nah, we're going to change it, you're like, well, that doesn't make sense. Like, is it a good product? Is it a good story? Was it cool? You're like, yes, and like, well, that's fine then. You know what I mean? It's all good.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like, when you keep trying to, I keep using like, comic book analogies, but to me, Spider-Man always worked better as, when he's like had that kind of 50s look. You know what I mean? It kind of made sense with jocks and all that kind of business. But that doesn't work anymore. You know what I mean? It just doesn't. And not everything should be for you as well. Do you know what I mean? It's so someone's chatted to me about like Ghost Rider. He got changed from like a Hell's Angel on a motorbike to a Dodge Viper years ago. No, it's stupid. It should be. It's like, but Hell's Angels aren't really a thing anymore. You know what I mean? It's like anyone who's in NAMM is really old now. Like they're not causing hell. And are you buying it? And they're like, no. And it's like, well, then change it, update it. It's why I love. It's why I really like Badlands. I thought it did a really good job of keeping everything on brand, but appealing to a new audience. You can have family-friendly fun and super violence at the same time.
That's a good quote.
Predator has always been a lot more flexible than people give it credit for.
Mm-hmm.
Not just in terms of setting. It's easy to sort of be like, oh, you just put it in different timelines, and it was great to finally see that in a cinematic setting with Prey. Yeah. But it just in far more than that. And Dan Trachtenberg has done such a good job of showing that flexibility with every single one of his films.
What was the? Oh, I can't remember what it's called. Sorry, I watched it recently. The animated short stories.
Killer of Killers.
That's it. Yeah, I thought that was. Whether whether you agree with some of the lore or not, like it's just a really good thing. I think it was great. I think all that stuff is cool. I also am a massive believer in the more you explain something and it doesn't need to be explained, it takes some of the magic away. Like a lot of horror films, you're like, what's this? As long as you have plausible belief and there's kind of like rules within rules, and it creates a really cool universe, like the Predator, being hot and the fact that there's this kind of whole honor system. The more you look into it, I'm sure you can poke holes in it. The more it doesn't make sense and things like that. As soon as you start explaining things and going, oh no, it's for this reason, it becomes not fun. Like midichlorians or Wolverine's origin, it's just much more fun not having these things and going. You don't need to know all the details. You know what I mean? As long as you keep creating cool content and you have plausible belief. As long as you have plausible belief, no worries. It's all good. You can do what you want. I think it's great. So yeah, I think it's loving the fact that there's probably new Predator fans out there. Maybe there is kids running around in the woods tending to reenact ultraviolence like I did. back in the day.
There was also, I don't know if you guys saw this. There's a cosplayer in the Alien Predator fan community who goes by Emily Newton, and I believe it was last October. Her costume was Lucretia Borgia, and she just had a really awesome cosplay of her.
No,
Let
Really?
me find this, Kevin. I'll send it. Yeah.
no, that's insane. Oh,
Predator Huntress, isn't it?
What does she go by?
I thought I was going to say about that. I remember years ago there was someone who was like a predator, but they're like a cookie monster. They skinned the cookie monster. See that?
No.
Yeah, it was
No,
like
I
they
have
captured a
to
cookie
see
monster.
that.
Yeah, and it was like, and they used the fur, and I was like, okay, that's like, you know, Predator meets Sesame Street. Like, that's brutal.
This is also
Aussie Huntress.
That's
what
right.
she
That's what it is, Aussie Huntress. Yeah, this little mini boss, multi-boss tier level machine man was a lot of fun with the Latin music going, the flying cars circling around, and just this empty arena here. Like, it's just so cool. It's such a vibe.
It's in the chat, Kev.
That is insane. That is absolutely. That blows my mind that we did this thing 20 years ago, and then someone else has gone, "Hey, I'm a fan." I'm like, "Wow, that's
It's
bizarre.
more-
That's amazing."
It's some more
Love
of
it.
her as well.
Right. Okay. I'm gonna send her a message.
Have a look at her bits because she does. She's done some cool Predator costumes as well, like a kind of Egyptian-y style
Yeah.
Predator.
That's awesome.
She's been a Na'vi.
Wait, did anyone recognize her?
Oh yeah, I mean we did.
Oh yeah. It's like
But
a niche for a niche.
yeah,
Wow.
she's part of
Love it.
a big Facebook group as well, Alien and Predator Universe. Isn't that right, Aaron?
Yes.
Yeah.
She's online on a lot of the social channels.
Alright, that's awesome. That is amazing. Super impressed. Wow. I'm literally blown away by that. I've never.
You still
That's
can't
insane.
believe the impact your game made.
No,
Can-
but, like,
I,
yeah.
I can feel you not believing it.
Yeah, like this is super like overwhelmingly awesome. This is yeah, it's great.
Oh, Hunter says she made a hunting grounds poster as well. Let me see if I can find that because I don't remember that one. No, hunting grounds, concrete jungle. What are you saying? Concrete jungle. I just can't read. Oh, I see it. It was Hunter. Was that her artwork? Did she draw that? Is that what we're saying?
I know she does some like poster Photoshop stuff as well.
Yeah, it doesn't look like a costume though. So I'm not sure. I didn't know she did artwork.
Victor, is that? Oh, excuse me.
Yeah,
I
awesome.
specifically instructed Victor the
Yeah?
Teacher and his crew take care of things. Why haven't they called in?
They're all dead.
They're all dead.
The machine men? My Victor.
El demonio invisible. He is real like
I do also really like. I'm very proud. I don't know why. It's bizarre. But I've always been proud of the fact that the giant robots bleed human blood, and the the more humanoid-looking robots bleed
Away from this fucking city.
weird computery blood.
Mhm.
I don't know why. I think it's cool. The Ulysses especially being horrendous. With
I
no arms and legs.
love the Ulysses. I think they are fantastic design in this game.
Get your
I think
pathetic ass
that
out.
was a bit of an influence
Get trading.
from RoboCop 2. I love RoboCop 2, and someone bought it for me one Christmas on video. I was far too young, but I'd watched RoboCop like a million times by then. And you know, it's like experimenting on all the different RoboCop prototypes, and one just like rips his own mask off and screams and then dies.
Black market
It was that
Yeah.
kind of thing. It was horrendous. I think there was a Batman and Spawn crossover. There was two, and one of them was like, okay, and one was great. It was, using these kind of like humans, and it was humans that no one really cared about. So it's like, the homeless, and they ran them up and turned them into robots. And it was like, how do we, we'll shave them and we'll neuter them. And it's like, oh, this is getting a bit grim now. The fact you rip it open and it starts screaming at you. I'm hoping that everyone was slightly traumatized the first time that happened. They didn't expect it.
Yeah,
Cool.
and then you just keep
And-
bashing their head and then rip out their spine right there.
Yeah.
Like, it's so great.
Which you're doing them a favour by that point. You know what I mean? It's okay. So it's all right. But yeah, that was. I'm hoping everyone was traumatized and our work here is done, kind of thing. But haven't they just? I was reading somewhere that they've got like someone's cloned conscience or something like that. It's not AI. It's like reproductive. And it's going to play like Doom endlessly, and you're like,
Oh, I saw something about that. I haven't read it. Something about
Yeah,
they
you
got brain cells to play Doom or something. Yeah, that was.
yeah. So it's like I'm alive, but I'm trapped in a hellish simulation. Literally, because you're in hell, right? In a hellish simulation, fighting monsters forever. And you're like, well, the Ulysses is right around that corner. You know what I mean? This is the first step.
A petri dish of human brain cells is currently playing Doom. Should we be worried? Scientists in the US have uploaded a fruit fly to a computer simulation, while an Australian lab has taught neurons on a glass chip to play a 90s video game. How long before we're all living in a sci-fi
Some of the
movie?
news headlines we get these days, man, it's just we live in
Yeah. It's like,
wild
like,
times.
couldn't you start off with like solitaire or something? But it's like, no, you're alive, but you're trapped in hell with a handgun and a shotgun, and that's it. Crack on.
Look, it is the determination of every single scientist or video game engineer or developer to see if you
Yeah.
can play Doom on it. And if
Yeah,
that
yeah,
includes brain cells, that includes brain cells.
I think I saw someone got it running on like a pregnancy test. And you're like, that's
Yes,
impressive.
yeah, I saw that recently.
Doing a pregnancy test, you never know. So that's it. The Ulysses could be a reality. Who knows?
Especially in current America.
Yeah. It's cheap,
Aussie-
cheap labour.
Aussie Huntress, we were just talking about your cosplay. Yes, we were just talking about you. Welcome to the stream.
It's amazing. I am absolutely 100 out of 10 impressed. I can't believe that. That's super awesome. And I'll have to drop you a message on Instagram or something. That's amazing.
Bigfoot welcome as
My
well.
Instagram is
Bigfoot
actually, like,
does.
My Instagram is all just memes and stupid crap. I really should do some kind of, video gamey thing. It would make a lot more sense, right?
Bigfoot joined us and says this game is still fun to this day. I remember playing it for ages as a kid. Thank you. I'd love a remaster.
Yeah.
The comment you
It's a big
always.
couch. It's nice how big that couch is. Yeah, the scale's slightly off because the pool table looks bigger. That's a big pool table.
Yeah, it's I should have tested this before stream. Since it's a full screen game, I didn't realize that Streamlabs kind of stretches the aspect ratio a little bit, so everyone's just a little bit wider than they should be.
No, yeah, that's it's the height as well. I don't know. I think it's actually some kind of futuristic cyber pool that they're playing in the future, and it's totally the right size. We're just not ready for it yet. It's huge.
Alright, now I gotta go get me some
Get some pulse mines.
pulse mines, that's right. And you can't cloak here because they got a jammer going. See if I
Alright,
can
you got plenty of avenues.
do it without getting detected this time.
I always love Scarface's just general design and costume in this. Revisiting sort of like a very heavily, or what seemed to be, heavily inspired by Celtic and AVP.
Yeah, the Predators are definitely they feel like they have a more beefy look that they had in the film in AVP.
Yeah. It's one of those things where where like I was mentioned earlier, you've got someone in a suit that has to put a mask on top of a mask and things like that, and it's a bit complicated. Like a, you know, the Fortnite version of the Predator, he's got a absolutely huge melon, but so he's shorter because he can't be too tall. But yeah, I think AVP Capcom paved the way. There's this. Yeah, if you can get the box art, not the box art, the cabinet art of that, and look, there's one shot where he's kind of stood there and looking like a real cool pose. If you notice, his back is kind of curved, and you're like, hang on, backs
I know
don't
what you mean.
work like that, spines don't work like that. You're like, shut up, it's a Predator. You're like, okay, cool, maybe they can. There you go.
See if I can find the.
I suppose there's more of that. You know, in the Arnie character, Dutch had like a double arm, didn't he? He's like his fist carried like another arm.
It was like
punch with it.
a rocket sort of
Yeah,
augmentation thing.
but it kind of felt a bit like the power loader in Aliens, where it was an offensive weapon, but it looked like it wasn't meant to be a completely offensive weapon, unless it's designed for punching, you know, intergalactic hunters. But it worked really well. But it would have been expensive, and you'd have to animate it because it'd be clipping through his legs and all sorts of stuff. But yeah, I really wanted just for that. Just a great game. One of my favourites, I think. Final Fight, AVP, Captain Commando, and they're all pretty much the same game.
Yeah, I know there's this company called Arcade 1-Up that does home arcade machines now that are pretty affordable as far as a home arcade is concerned, and I'm still hoping they eventually get to Capcom's AVP.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah, the artwork is very much like Darkstalkers as well. So in Street Fighter, obviously all the characters are all buff. They're all super buff. Like they're in the gym at all times. Isn't like Ryu like a wandering hobo, but he's ripped, absolutely ripped, so he's eating well. Nothing but fine steaks. But if you look at Darkstalkers, again, all the characters are kind of a bit thinner, and they've got certain elements emphasised, and it just works. You know, it makes them look really, really good. And I think it's the same artist. I'm not entirely sure, but it looks like it to me. Yeah, they're taking a character and just emphasised certain proportions to absolutely work.
Did not realise just how much Lin Kurosawa fan art there was.
Oh really?
Yeah.
But again, that game's like that game's even older than this game, right?
Yeah.
By
Like a decade or so.
yeah. There you go. Saying that,
Sorry, I was led down some rabbit holes then.
Yeah. I'm pretty happy the fact that someone is dressing up as Lucretia. I'll take that. That's still awesome. 20 years later, amazing.
Did you do a lot of the character design in this game as well then? Because weren't the Luchador people and the Machine Men your designs?
Yes, to be sort of. Like I would create a character, but obviously not draw it because obviously there's way better artists and character artists specifically. So I work with them, and we're all friends, and so I go, right, this is the character, and I kind of go, here's like a little fact sheet. This is the kind of music they'd listen to. This is the kind of thing they do. So I try to explain the character. When you're writing a character, you should know exactly what they eat for breakfast. Now it's not important, but it helps define it. So when someone else comes along and they go, yeah, I get it. I completely get it. Do you know what I mean? You can tell, like, a really good character design. I try and shoehorn luchadors into everything, to be honest. So it was cool. That's why, and again, I did apologise and said it was a different time and I did it completely innocently. But yes, all the characters are kind of racial stereotypes, and they were not meant to be. There's meant to be like cool excuses for like gangs. But because it's gangs and because it's crime, it's like, oh yeah, I see what I kind of stumbled into there. So again, I'm going to absolutely apologise for that. But yeah, I just wanted some really cool, different. So one gang is based off futuristic version of all the characters in Beat It, Mark Jackson's Beat It, and they're all kind of like a bit janky. So we wanted something that we didn't want to make something that was really cool and current, because by the time he came out, it wouldn't be cool and current anymore. So we're like, this is the kind of music. It's kind of like, you know, hip hoppy and things like that. Then the Matadors, they just had these really tall trousers, which look a bit like the kind of cummerbund kind of sashes that you wear. Which again doesn't really make sense, but it's like futuristic fashion, and it gave us an excuse to put all those cool things on. The main character, I didn't design that. I was on about giving him a scar or something to make him look different. So I said we should cut his eye out, and then his mask was meant to have only one eye. Like later on, mask was meant to have it was molded to his face, so he only had one eye on the mask because he didn't need the other eye because he hasn't got one. But it was never meant to be called Scarface. He just had a scar on his face, and it just kind of stuck like that, which all worked out for the best. So yeah, we had all that, and then, and again, it was never just me. I was like, these should be the characters. This is the story. This is how it's working out. Then we tweak it slightly, and someone will say, yeah, we're more like that. And again, the Goths. I'm a big Misfits fan. I've always liked the Misfits, so they were kind of very kind of, you know, misfity and a bit goth, and they looked, the bosses, who were really tall and thin, were a bit Marilyn Manson and Trent Reznor kind of thing kind of going on. That kind of super skinny chic, you know. With a bit of that industrial goth in there, which is a bit more futuristic, which is very current at the time. Mama, it was in the wedding dress, because there was a whole chapter where you took down this wedding where she was getting married, and she was going to be jilted, just like Mrs. Havisham, which one of my favourite character designs of all time ever, which I think I talked about before. You know, because you look at it and go, I get it, I get the backstory. You understand why this person's a villain. They're not just a douche. You know, they are angry at the world, and you know, it was cool. And then Grant Morrison said, absolutely keep that because it's awesome.
It's an awesome visual. Yeah.
And then when we looked at some of the male characters, and it was mainly the Predator hair, right? Because it's really hard to put it as a ponytail, because it just didn't work out as much. So not so much Bruno, because he is just very, you know, big mobstery. I think we looked at a comic called Screamer, which Steve Dillon did, and we're all massive Preacher fans, the Preacher comic. So it's just a really big looking gangstery dude, you know what I mean? So it's like, okay, that's some influence. I think that was our original idea, but then the artists would take it and done their own spin on it, and gone, this is what we want, kind of thing. And they would always make it, you know, of equal or greater value. So and again, it's always collaborative, right? You know, you don't go, this is the game, this is what you've got to make. It's like, no, this is the kind of thing we're aiming for. Put your own spin on it. That always works. You know, when everyone takes ownership of their own work, it's always better. And some people like to go, no, give me like a rough idea and I'll make it. And some people want to go, no, I know exactly what it is and I'll do it. And it both work. You know what I mean? So there's no one hard and fast rule. I think all your designs and everything else has to be. His codpiece is a bit oddly shaped. I just noticed that.
This one on the Predator.
No, on El Hongo, he just ran past on the YouTube thing, yeah. Yeah, and I was like, alright, I can't remember that. Maybe it's like a higher def now. But yeah, so yeah, it's never any kind of one person's, it might be one person's kind of vision, but that vision is because it fits with everything else. But I can't remember, I think I had come up with a load of ideas for the Predator costumes, but I think Lee Ames did most of them. Who's an awesome character modeler, and he created a lot of he had a gig creating the originals. You know, the very expensive model kits you put together. You don't so much get them anymore, but before the days of McFarlane Toys, you know, and like the average action figure.
The Halcyon stuff.
you kind of glue it together and paint it like a kit. They're always
Yeah.
like super realistic, and you don't get as much anymore because again, like McFarlane Toys came out and went, hey, yeah, we're gonna make this kind of really cool action figure that you can drop on the floor, and it won't smash into 1,000 pieces. He would create the originals of those, so he'd get a license, and he created loads of really cool ones. So when it came to character design, he knew what he was doing, in terms of things like silhouettes and all the other stuff, that the kind of technical side of the art. Like I was mentioning earlier, that to be a really good artist, you need to be very arty, but also there's a science behind it. And then same as all the programs I work with, it's very technical. But again, there's like an art. There's making these cool creative things and making them better. So it works. So yeah. So some of the characters, we never designed them to look exactly like this. It was more like, this is what they need to do. This is why. This is the reasoning. This is all the kind of cool stuff. Yeah, and then they kind of evolved, from there. I think it was like, what do we do with the Ulysses? And it's like, do we neuter them? Do we put pants on them? Well, it doesn't really work with pants. You know what I mean? Why would they like that? Or put a tube on there? That's horrendous. It is, but actually, it's less of an age rating issue if you cut the genitals off and replace them with a metal pipe, rather than see the genitals, which is super bizarre.
Pretty horrific in its own right.
Yes.
What bastard
Ooh.
thinks he can fuck with me?
So the comment, El Hongo, yeah, absolutely. We should have gone with that.
You lost my ship. So for that,
Oh, Caleb. Oh, Caleb.
both of your hands.
But it wasn't my fault.
Gotta love those futuristic flip phones.
Maybe I can salvage
So-
something from this fucking mess.
Yeah.
Nobody fucks with me.
The Matrix already out by then, wasn't it? Sorry.
Yeah, Matrix was
Yes,
99.
that was during Bond, I think we had that. Yeah. Yeah, so that would have been a couple of years before.
That wasn't flip phones though. Matrix. It was slide phones. It was the Nokia.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Nokia not. Oh, I used to really want one as a kid. What were they? Matrix Nokia phone.
Yeah, my last flip phone was the Razor 2, which was pretty awesome. It wasn't quite as popular as the Razor 1, but I thought design-wise it was pretty slick.
It
I
was
like.
the Nokia 8110, the slide phone.
I like all the stuff like in Blade Runner and things like that, where you have this old tech where people still have dials and things and switches that you flick on and off and things like that. I like all that. I think you can lean into that kind of stuff. Like, imagine someone went back in time and one thing changed, we'd have all different tech, and the more futuristic it is, the more it's not going to work anyway. You know what I mean? In the next 10 years. And if people are still looking at your game 20 years on, and the flip phone's absolutely, the most unbelievable thing in there, I think we're doing all right. We're doing okay there.
Aaron, do you remember the level that has the boss fight with Stoneheart?
It was not long after, or was it 1,000? Was it the mission after 1,000 Ways to Die?
Come to Mother? I don't know. I can
2
find out.
seconds.
Oh, you find out.
out.
So, did you remind me? Did you get the figures that NECA did from this game, Kev?
When the Scarface one came out, I think someone in our old Eurocom chat was like, "Hey, has anyone seen this?" It's like, "What the hell? Like, what?" I didn't know there was any call, so I pulled out all stops to buy one, and I love the fact that the box art. I've got loads of like nerd crap that I've collected over the years, right? Because that's what you do when you work in these things. Because mainly you don't see daylight for a lot of the year, so everyone's office would be filled full of toys and whatever you did to make bring joy into your life, because you were sat down all day playing, making games. So most of what I've got is not in boxes, but that is one of the only things I've still got in a box, because the box art is amazing, and the fact it looks like the game, I is unbelievably proud of that. It's amazing that someone did that, and again, that's insane. And it's got to be like what, quite old now. Is it like 6, 8 years old? I don't know when that came out. Yeah, I just think it's brilliant. That, after all this time someone made it, I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. So it was great, and I didn't know Stoneheart was coming out. And a couple of years ago, I was at like a horror convention, and I saw it, and it's huge, absolutely huge. And it was really expensive, and I'm like, I love it, but I'm not going to pay like £100 for it.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, the NECA resellers, they can get a little up there, but no, it was cool that they did Stoneheart a bit more recently. I do wish they'd re-release Scarface. It's like an updated version.
if they brought out a creature or something, or one of the characters that I would have, I think I'd probably sold a kidney and swapped, or sold my soul or something for one of those. You know what I mean? I just think that of all the characters, he's cool, but he's just not as, I don't know. I wouldn't be my second choice. I would have thought Hunter would have been the way forward. I don't know. Again, I would have paid good money for an El Hongo with his removable trousers. That'd be cool.
NECA's always said, the predators, the creatures sell more for them, so they've never been too.
Yeah. It's just a, I don't know. Well, actually, so they'll use molds like like video games kind of things. It's why like your He-Man figures have exactly the same body in different heads, because it's just loads cheaper and more efficient to, and again, it sounds like you're cutting corners, but no, like, with a good design. That works, but all of the bosses are slightly predator shaped, which is why you can do that animation on them. And this is like older tech.
Do love taking a trophy in a Predator game.
Yeah. Did you see the last? Was it the last? 28 years later.
I did.
I
yeah.
haven't yet. I've only seen the part one of those.
Yeah, and was it part one actually where he does the spinal predator head rip thing?
I thought it was the more recent one.
Right,
I thought
okay,
it was.
I can't remember which one it was.
I thought it was the Bone
There's
Temple.
definitely yeah, definitely that.
Such a good visual. And tying it into Mother, I think, was unsurprising. No, sorry, not unsurprising. It was surprising when I played through the game for the first time. Because a lot of the alien connections I just hadn't been expecting.
You're not even human anymore. Look at you. You're a monster.
And the fact that she really is a mother. I don't know. Is it still canon? I don't know. In my head, it is.
The general rule always used to be, if it's not in a film, it wasn't canon.
Yeah.
And then at some point, studios started to weaponize canon as a marketing thing.
Oh, okay.
Where they'd be like, "Oh, it's canon," during marketing, so people would be more invested in it? Question mark. If it's somehow canon.
They said that for Colonial Marines during the time, and then it wasn't. It's kind of assumed Alien Isolation is considered canon just for how interwoven it's been in the expanded universe. Like
that's not assumed. We know that prior to Disney, at least, that was canon.
I mean, it's one of the things, you always got to get a new audience in, and you always want to keep people happy, and if you've got something you know and love that becomes not important anymore, that sucks. But also, for new people, you don't want to go, hey, this doesn't make sense, but you need to read these 4 novels and watch these, 16 movies and a TV show to understand it all. Which is why I like the pulp type stuff, because everything is always very flat, and you go, I get it. But if you get the backstory because you read the extra stuff, it's even better. But you don't have to have it all. Do you know what I mean? So no one needs to know that the supercomputer is really a floating woman from the 1930s. But if you do know, it's much cooler.
Yeah. And this was another lore element that was previously introduced in a comic book, EVP Eternal, which was the concept of predator vampirism and human prolonging their life with predator blood. It's something that appeared before this, and then with this, and again after this, it has come back. So it's an interesting, one of those kind of deep cut elements of lore that was explored here.
Were you directly inspired by AVP Eternal for that aspect of the game?
No. I just think it's an old classic. You can have freaky alien juice, and then it makes you give you powers like a spider bite, a radiated spider bite, and things like that. Like blood is just like radiation. When it's a good mechanic to go. That doesn't make any sense realistically, but anyone can buy into it and go, oh yeah, okay, you got blood on you, and it's alien blood, so it gives you magical powers. You know what I mean? It's like you don't want to spend time explaining it. You want time explaining the cooler stuff, like the fact the connection in the 1930s and all that, that kind of business. So I think it's like a means to an end. If that kind of makes sense.
Parallel thinking. I forget what parallel development, whatever it's called, coincidental.
It's sort of like in Transformers. Energon. Like, is it food? Is it fuel? It's all of these things. It's a magical thing. Just learning about it would be really boring. And just explain it to you. Like, I remember seeing, the first time, episode 1 was in the cinema, and it's like, trade embargoes. And you're like, what? That doesn't sound interesting at all. You know what I mean? Whereas Star Wars is like, princesses and empires and things, and you're like, all right, I'm in. It's like trade embargoes, although it is coming in very handy now to explain what's going on in the world. But yes,
I've seen many memes about. I've seen many memes about George Lucas tried to warn you all.
Yes, yeah. So it worked out all right, which is horrendous. But it's one of the things where you go in, what's a trade embargo? And it's like, right, let me just pause the film and explain. And you're like, none of that's interesting. You know what I mean? Whereas you go, Bruce Banner got hit by a nuclear explosion. You're like, right, so why is he not like vaporized or just like really ill at best? It's like, no, he's got the Hulk. And you're like, what? That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Fantastic Four in space, he got hit by cosmic radiation. Again, they should all come back and just die. Not having a cool powers. But again, it's one of these kind of magic things that goes, yeah, look, the science behind it doesn't make sense, but we're going to move on and give you a really, really cool story. And show you cool things, but let's just run with the magic blood on you, and therefore it all kind of works. All right, okay, cool. It creates what I kind of mentioned earlier about that kind of plausible belief. It's okay. It's one of the things actually, especially with aliens, that an alien is born from a human and therefore looks human-ish. And then we had I think was it the dog alien was the first one. Yeah. You're like, oh, okay, that's kind of. And then we got like all different flavors. You're like, will it work like that? Did it work like that? Do you know what I mean? And you kind of have to explain it, and it's not as fun anymore.
It was kind of. I mean, Alien 3 kind of implied it.
Yeah.
More heavily, I think.
I really like Alien 3, but mainly because it's just so weird and bizarre.
It got a lot more appreciated over the years.
I think maybe, and I could be wrong here, but I think the British audience, it's a very kind of British film. Brian Glover's like the world's most northern man at the time.
Yeah, quite Yorkshire.
I mean? Yes, he's like Captain Yorkshire. So I like it just because it was so different and weird, but yeah, I think killing off the main cast to keep them alive for a whole film, it was a bit odd.
Yeah, that's still a complaint for a lot of people. I mean, even as much as the film is now more reevaluated, that's something that you will still always hear about. Killing Hicks and Newt. not
I
a
remember the
load.
graphic novel when
Not
he made
a
it back to Earth. That was cool.
Yeah, the original trilogy.
Yeah.
Ah,
I think
Same
one
guy
of my
wrote the original Predator comics as well, you know. Mark
Oh,
Verheyen.
really?
Yeah, he wrote the 3 sort of mainline Predator ones. You know, the Concrete Jungle. He wrote Concrete Jungle.
Yeah, yeah.
Same
yeah.
guy.
oh, that's right. I can just open these doors.
Yeah, I was wondering what you were doing, buddy.
I didn't. I thought I had to activate some switch to get those doors open, but no, you just open them.
It's just a physical Predator brute
Core
strength.
stability now at 75.
Hunter says, "You hear that, Necker? Give us Scarface again."
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised Hot
Yeah.
Toys never did one, you know.
Yeah,
Because they
it's
did-
You ever get a Funko Pop?
Yeah, or... I would not be surprised if that comes around at some point.
I mean, literally everything else has. So,
I can't stand it. I hate the Funko Pops.
oh really?
Yeah, it's just
Ah,
it's not a style I like. You know you can throw mines while you're climbing, by the way.
maybe I'll save this mission for later.
I always said this was incredibly hard. This mission for me. When you do the last mission,
Okay.
and then we can
I
sort
don't know. I
of
might get emotional.
Still such a fantastically cinematic mission.
Oh yeah, those statues are just so cool.
I think we did a thing and it was cool, but we also got lucky at the same time. Because, again, this whole thing did not exist. In about 36 hours with no sleep, it did.
That's nuts. Yeah, that's just.
Video game development in the 2000s, it just sounds absolutely Wild West.
Oh god, yeah. But there's something about it, like, again, it's like these days, a lot of games, like your big AAA games, it's like movies, right? Your big blockbuster movies, they can't afford to take risks. They can't afford, they've got to be out on time. So you end up getting, 15 different studios all working on it at once, and everyone's trying to shine, but they're not quite gelling, even though they're really, really good teams and they get on with each other. But they're not in the same room, or they're they're working on different deadlines and different things. It's just different. Whereas you see a lot of indie games now and a lot of indie movies and horrors and things like that, where there's less people involved, but there's less money, so you have to rely on imagination and practicality and practical effects and things like that. You do get a lot of that. Oh, I love characters, AI fighting AI. I've always loved that because it's different every time, and I think when you replay a level, you get different outcomes. So I've always been a massive fan of that. We did that in Bond years ago with these like guards, and again, when you're replaying something 50 times in a row or whatever to try and get a challenge, having AI versus AI, and you can I can attack them both. I can attack different. I've always loved that. That was really cool. I forgot about they were in this actually.
And it looks like they're actually chipping away at his health. Yeah, so they
They are. They're
they
on your
soften him up
side
for you.
because you
Yeah.
you recruit them in an earlier mission.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember.
These are some 90s looking Yakuza dudes as well. But that's the kind of classic look, right? For I think.
It reminds me of what was that other GTA-ish LA game where it was all about the Yakuza?
That was that the one where it looked really realistic, but it was empty.
Was it True Crime
Sorry.
Streets of LA?
That was one of it. No, that was. Oh, it might have been actually.
Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of. True Crime Streets of LA. Because that didn't.
Yeah.
I'm sure they ended up being a bunch of Yakuza related stuff in that.
Yeah. And all the kind of absolutely insane Yakuza games you get now, which are awesome. They all look like that as well. It's that very stylistic, suits like red shirts and wide collars and kind of like 70s Scarface, as in Al Pacino Scarface. There you go. Look at this. Look at them views.
Yeah, the skybox in this section is really cool.
It would have been one views from somewhere else. You just didn't get to see as much. But because of the way this all works out, it's all good.
I was wondering, so the idea is like he's woken up early by his daughter, right? And like maybe if she hadn't have done that, and if whatever process he was doing had been allowed to complete, would he have still been some huge hulking monster, or would it have been like something different? And is that, in your mind, is that like why he offed his daughter, is because he was just so angry that she interrupted the process?
Yes, the idea, it was always going to be his own downfall, right? Because he's a dick. It's the short answer. Do you know what I mean? So he's just angry and roided up, and because always the women in this family are the brains, 100%, and the blokes were like, I'm alpha male, I'm this whole thing. You know, it's that kind of like, what's the new Louis Theroux documentary? It's very current. The Manosphere stuff.
Oh, yeah.
It was like, yeah, we're all this, which I think is a very predatory thing. You know, it's the fact that no, you're not going to match this. This predators are the ultimate killers. They are bigger, they are stronger, they are sneakier, they have the tech, and all they do all day is kill and try and kill things. They are the ultimate hunters. Do you know what I mean? They are the best, and you're never going to match them with brawn or just speed, and it's always smarts, which is why I really like Prey. You know, I saw a lot of people complaining, oh no, you know, the fact that, you know, Arnie couldn't beat it, but this young girl can. It's like, that was the whole point. Arnie didn't beat the Predator with all the weapons and the machine guns and the literal helicopter chain gun that someone can carry. You know what I mean?
Anybody who criticises that in Prey does not understand Predator.
It's like you've missed the point. Like you've literally missed the point. That you're never going to beat it. And again, the Predator has a bit of that arrogance as well, to go, I will kill these things, which is why the Predator, whenever the Predator kind of blows itself up in the movies, it kind of goes, all right, you got me, nice one. Do you know what I mean? It's not like sour grapes. It's like, I lost this one. Bollocks. Okay, there you go. Here's a prize, or I'm going to set the alarm now and blow myself up so far as I'd get running. Do you know what I mean? It's never like sour grapes. It's like, oh, I'm dead. All done. I've lost. And I like that about the Predator. You know, it's not a goodie or a baddie. It just is a thing, and it will hunt you, but it mainly picks on other people that, you know, shoot other people or whatever. So the idea was, yeah, without the women, they were doomed anyway. And he might have been a bit stronger and a bit faster, but if he did like an alternate ending, you know, they'd still lose. And the only person who was going to defeat the Predator was you know, the smart women in the family.
And that's fair.
Look at that. That is literally the character model just scaled up, and the shoulders have been flattened a little bit, and the back of the shoulders, so you could. These are cool statues.
Absolutely. I love the skull on his arm there as well.
Yeah.
And the taunt. You've gotta love it.
Oh, like this is. It's literally been like at least a decade since I've seen this.
Yeah, it's such a good ending to the game.
That's it. Give me curry and 36 hours, and I'll see what I can do. Again, wasn't just me. I'm just saying that to be for comedy effect. It was everyone else. We all mucked in here. Especially Greg, Super Greg.
He's just such a good Predator character. But did what you were saying earlier about working with Grant? Did you never meet them in person? Was it all email and telephone?
Yeah, it was all phone calls, like speaker calls.
Right.
Super nice, super humble. Never bumped into them. But yeah, I would love to. And they had something secret going on. I think they were about to take over as like the head writer at DC, which was great. But some stuff got real trippy when they started doing that. So it was cool. Loved it.
I love that the
ship has
Predator
less-
1 shuttle was in this. That is one of my favourite Predator aesthetics, and you don't get to see it enough, especially nowadays. So I just love it being at the end of this.
Could have done probably a bit more detail. But again, that's probably used somewhere. There we go. Greg Irwin, that's who worked on this. Hans.
And he was the
Wow.
one who, it turned out, who got to go to Prague. Lee.
Oh, Lee Ames.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's okay. I missed out on was it 2 or 3 trips to Pinewood Studios during my career.
With Bond.
With Bond, I think twice, and I did get to go on Pirates of the Caribbean, but I kind of already made my mind up that I was leaving, and was sorting out a trip to Australia. So I turned down that because I thought it wasn't fair for me to go and get, even though I've been like gazumped twice to go to Pinewood Studios, which as a massive film buff and everything else, I would have loved. Probably appreciated more than most, but again, maybe not. Who knows? But I turned the third trip down because I thought it would be out of order taking the trip and then leaving. I thought that would be out of order, so I said, "Oh, well, I can't make it that day," so someone else went in. However, I did get to go to Skywalker Ranch years later, which totally made up for it.
Yeah. Did you get to meet Lucas?
No. Someone said it like some people say, you can't look him in the eyes and things like that. And others go, oh no, he's just a really sound guy. He just travels around doing his own thing, and it's like, yeah, it's cool. But it's very cool. And I got a trip to the Industrial Light and Magic offices as well, which
nice.
it's not an official thing, but I got a mate at LucasArts and he was like, if you sneak in real quick, early. We'll have a quick run around the office, even though it's not like a touristy thing. You can have a thing, and you've got a big statue of Ray Harryhausen, which is amazing, and things like the giant Vigo, what's his name from Ghostbusters 2.
Yeah. The sort of
Vigo, something or other. Yeah, you turn the corner and the actual painting is there.
That's cool. So you were with
there was loads of cool stuff there, but nothing alien or predatory.
You were with LucasArts for a bit?
No, when I was in Australia, I worked on this Star Wars, a couple of Star Wars games.
Okay.
So,
So LucasArts just published.
yeah, it was the Clone Wars thing. So I got to
the lightsaber
Dave
one.
Filoni.
Yeah.
Yeah. I met Dave Filoni a couple of times, who's like the dude behind all the Clone Wars stuff, and he does the the live action stuff for The Mandalorian and things like that as well. He was a really good guy, and he got games, and his target audience is brilliant. He's really, really good. So I've been very lucky. Been very, very lucky. And I class this as well. And seeing people today dressed up as obscure... Is it obscure character? Well, a game from 20 years ago, cosplaying that. I think that's amazing. The fact that all these people have turned up to the chat is amazing. The fact that everyone's been really nice and friendly is amazing. It's just... I am overwhelmed. It's good.
Well,
Good
the
thing.
game...
So thank you very much.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you for joining us. And the game holds a special place for both Aaron and I, and I'm sure a lot of people in the chat as well, and in the wider community. So thank you again for joining us for live stream. It's always like some of my favorite live streams is because I've always been a passionate gamer, and I've always been very intrigued by what you guys go through in making these experiences for us. So it's been a real treat when we get to have some of the game developers on, such as yourself, and give a little insight into all the battle stories that you have with something like this. And it's really impressive when we hear like something like the last level is just thrown together in like a day and a half. Like that seems, I mean, not right. Like you guys should have more time to do that, but still very impressive. So yeah, we appreciate you joining us here, and thank you to everyone in the chat for joining us on another live stream.
If you,
Just hope that everyone who played the game has, rented from Blockbuster Video back in the day, has grown up to be well adjusted, and I hope you're all doing all right.
Well, I don't know about myself, but yeah, hopefully most have.
and if you haven't already somehow, we have joined us along with some of his other Eurocom developers last year to talk Concrete Jungle as well. If you haven't listened to it, go back and revisit that one. I re-listened to it prior to today, and I was like, fuck, these guys were so fun, and it was so awesome to learn more about the game over the time. So yeah, thanks Kev, very much appreciate you taking the time to come and join us, and then it's been great. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries, pleasures are all mine.
And if you're watching this as well and you haven't, we released a video of Hunter's review of the Hot Toys Scorched Predator earlier today. If you haven't watched that, go and give that a look over. And tomorrow, UK evening, America sort of mid-morning, I'll be releasing our next podcast, which is a review of Alien Perfect Organisms, one of the last novels that Titans put out, so you can keep an eye out for that one. I think that's everything, Adam. Anything else you can think of?
Nope. You guys know where to find us, avpgalaxy.net, or any of the major socials. We should be back on it next week, I believe, Aaron, right? So we'll find a game to play then.
Yep, sounds good.
Alrighty, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.